And you have a wonderful cedar, very old. And you know the origin of the cedar? During the Revolution in France, when they arrived and they took the houses, they plant cedar. It means liberty. It is a tree of the liberty.
You have this incredible view looking back onto the plains where you see Pomerol and Saint-Émilion in the distance. All of a sudden the landscape changes completely. You get into like sloping small hills, very, very different from the rest of Bordeaux, and this is where Château Dalem is located. My first encounter with Château Dalem and Brigitte, 15, almost 20 years ago actually, I was mind blown. I could not believe why I had not heard about Fronsac, why I had not heard about Château Dalem.
I say to people, Fronsac is one of the oldest appellations in Bordeaux. You have a terroir that even Eric Boissonneau, when he came for the first time, he said, so you have a wonderful terroir. Everybody would like to have your terroir. The terroir is wonderful. And the problem was, there is a little problem with the appellation that people speak about a lot of from Saint-Émilion and Pomerol and less from Fronsac. But in my mind, I think that in the future, Fronsac will be it is a very nice appellation, and the appellation is like, because you have very high quality, very good price.
Fronsac is a very underestimated and a little bit of a forgotten appellation. Amongst a few more of her colleagues, I think Brigitte is one of the foremost ambassadors for this region. Dalem is one of those secret hidden gems which deserves to be discovered.
Action? But action or not? Action. So we try this one?
Yes.
And I ask the people, it's a blind tasting. I say, okay, it's the wine from Château Dalem, but you have to tell me what is the vintage. Nobody, never, somebody say it's a 64. Sometimes yes. 70 in the years, but never 64. Never. Don't have the feeling that it is so old wine. It's so older than you.
Much older than me.
Very old.
Yeah, 64, I think it's a bit of an underrated vintage. It's not as great as 61, but I think I've had some really lovely 64s. Yeah. And they always seem to have a nice freshness to them, which this does as well.
I like this vintage, and every time I taste the wine, I'm always surprised because by the freshness, the wine is alive, it's very incredible. I have an owner of the Château Dalem and the Château de la Husse. It's another chateau that we have in Fronsac. So I take over the vineyard after my father. And now I have only one son, but he's used to come very often, but he has another job in Paris. So we organize the Dalem and the other life. And Château de la Husse come from my family from 1870. So the origin of the family is the Château de la Husse. But we make a lot of promotion, we make a lot of work for Dalem. And now we try to push La Husse, to explain like La Husse is also a family vineyard. So Dalem is, my father bought the vineyard in the year 1955. He wanted to make the best wine, very good wine. So he asked to Michel Roland to help him. It was in the year 1964 and 1965 to make the wine.
First of all, one thing which intrigues me a lot on the nose is that you have this You have that fig, dates, notes, but you have this dark, sweet fruit, which you don't really know exactly what fruit it is. But you also have this light mint touch, which is
mint,
just
yeah.
a little,
Yeah.
but it lifts everything up, which is really, really amazing. And such elegance on the texture. It's just really, really smooth.
In fact, I found in the cellar 5 bottles of 1955. And the bottles, the cork is horrible. And I opened the bottles, and the wine is here, you know, the label. And I said, I try the wine. I suppose it will be very awful. And in fact, I was surprised also. I prefer this one, but it was very, very incredible. Alive. So the wine was alive, you know. And one day he said, okay, it's finished for me. And I was alone with this vineyard. And in fact, it was very good because I have to organize of myself, to make my wine. And it was very, very interesting, really. For Charles, my son, is one day he said, you know, Dalem is very good, but too much powerful. Perhaps it would be very nice to change and to stop with Michel Rolland. I love Michel Rolland. It's a very nice man. And, but perhaps we have to change. And so we decided to start with Eric Boissonneau. And it was a very big changing of in the vine, changing in the way of making the wine in the cellar. Dalem is made with 15 plots, and on different places, and you have the diversity of the terroir.
Which adds complexity.
Yeah. He gives complexity, and our way of making, and what you want to do, you know, my taste, our taste. Dalem is at the same time is powerful, but very soft tannins and very, very long, very fresh. So that is a vintage 1990.
1990.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's 26 years difference, and this, even if it would normally taste mature wine, it now tastes very young, I think, compared to the 64, of course. And but you have this really lovely dark dried fruits with figs and a little bit like raisins. But you have this nice red fruits as well, I think, and like this chocolate aroma, which we didn't really see in the other one, which for me is very typical right bank aroma. I don't know if you agree, but for me, chocolate is something you see more here on the right bank than on the left bank. Yeah. I don't think it's maybe Merlot. Nice texture, aging extremely well.
Very good reputation, the vintage name.
Yeah, 90 is a very good vintage. Yeah. Some believe in 89, some believe in 90.
I have noticed that, for example, the vintage with not a very good reputation, like 2002, like 11, like 12, like I don't know, 17. We make very, very, very good vintage, really. 21, it was very different than 2022. But if you make a tasting of different 21, you keep the freshness on Dalem. It's not very heavy because we didn't make too much extraction. We have a balance. We have for me.
One thing that it really ages a wine is pH, and you need to have some freshness in the wine.
Yeah.
2002 for me, well, we were about to try your 2002, but I always thought it was quite lean, quite thin. But for some strange reason, there seems to be some body added to the 2002s, which I've only discovered in the last 4 or 5 years. Today, I prefer many O2s compared to the O3s. Actually, now with a bit more air, that slightly minty character is coming in the 1990 as well.
I don't want to make the best of Fronsac or the best. It's not my problem. I want to make that Dalem has a really personality. You know, you like or you don't like. It's not a problem. But Dalem is Dalem. You know, you have very good wine everywhere in the world, in Bordeaux, in the world. But okay, I don't want to make another wine. I make my wine. 2002.
2002.
2002. Allez, 2002.
Already
It's-
on the nose, I'm surprised on the
Uh.
depth and complexity.
It's funny because each vintage has its own story.
And this is your father's last
Yeah.
vintage and sort of your first. You were both making.
Yes, it's the last year when we worked together.
The fruits are getting darker, not as dried, but you actually again have this minty touch. And something else like truffles.
Truffles, perhaps.
Very nice acidity again. And this saline note, like a slightly salty
Something.
on the finish. And beautiful texture.
Okay, so 18, okay?
Already on the nose, you feel this wine is more compact.
Compact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny. Huh?
But all the earlier ones we've tried has been with Roland as well, because you have a long history with Roland. Yeah.
Voilà. I think sometimes people say, okay, the wine is the Grand Terroir de Bordeaux. Okay, of course, the Grand Terroir. But the wine is also a people, a man or woman behind the bottle. So, and because sometimes you have people who don't have a very high quality of terroir. Yeah, they have good terroir and they make a very nice wine. Sometimes people have very high terroir and they don't make a nice wine, you know. It depends of your philosophy, what you want to do. If you are involved in the wine, is it your passion or not? It's a lot of things, you know. I asked to Eric Boissonneau if he wanted to work with me, and he said, okay, I call you back. He called me back, and he said, okay, I come to see you. I want to visit. We stayed together for the day with two people of my team, and we visited all the plots. He asked me to make a tasting from the 1964 to the new one. And he said, okay, it's just to have an idea of what can I make here, you know. He had to be sure to, and at the end of the day, he said, okay, if you want to work with me, I want to work with you. And we started to work. So the 2019, it's a mix between Boissonneau and Michel Rolland. And we harvest with Michel Rolland, and we make the blending with Eric Boissonneau. 2020, it was the first vintage of Boissonneau. As we have low extraction, the press are better, understand? And we put the press in different oak barrels. And when he came to Dalem, he tests the press and he makes selection, A plus, B. And for the blending, we put the press and, you know,
Yeah, that's press wine.
Yeah. And it's incredible because in my mind, the press, it was not very good in the past for me. And now when we taste the press, it's incredible, really. You have the feeling that you taste jus de goutte, I don't know, it's very impressive because sometimes we put 5% of press, sometimes 10% of press, and the wine is so different, really. More long, more precise wine, you know. It's different style, really. And I like this style, really.
And what is your favorite food with the Dalem?
Oh, I think Dalem has so much complexity that you can mix with a lot of foods. And I like cooking, really, I like cooking. My husband cooks a lot of fishes, and I cook the meat and even the dessert. And I try also some Spanish because my husband has origin of Spain. And we try Spanish food, we try Asian food. You can mix, really, not a problem. Because you have a lot of freshness in Dalem, you know. It's, you can taste, we can taste the wine with a lot of food.
And age-wise, if you were to pick any vintage you've made, what would be the sort of first vintage you would grab to drink now? Would it be 10 years old, 20 years old?
So I begin older and older, and I like more and more young wine. I don't know. And I think it's 10 years, to be honest. 10 years. It depends. We have a 1964 to taste. You taste the wine like a curiosity, you know, it's very, very, very interesting. But to drink now, I like 10 years, you know, around 10 years, sometimes younger. No problem. Because I say when the wine is good at the beginning, young, it will be nice later, you know. But I like young wine, to be honest. Right? So 19, we try. For me, there is a big difference between 18 and 19. Very big.
18 is very sunny. You feel the sun warmth in the wines. The acidity is lower. The tannins are very, very soft. The fruit is very ripe. While 2019 has, even if it's not the coldest vintage either, but it just feels much more classic with that freshness.
2022. You have the charm of 19 and you have the precision of the 20.
Already on the nose, because now you have floral notes, which I think is the first time I've had on this one. 22 was a difficult vintage to try during Primeur, because you had the freshness, but I was worried because you had that really, really ripe sweet fruit, which you also had in 2018, and I was worried if it would be a similar vintage, but it's turning out to be much fresher. There's a freshness in 22. The fruit is settling, and it's settling into something much more classic in the style of Bordeaux, which I didn't foresee that it could do. I'm really starting to love the 2022s.
You see the evolution?
There's a lovely finesse here. What is your take on 23 as vintage?
For me, it's more classic. I like the freshness on the wine. I like it's quite fine, elegant. It's not a warm vintage, you know.
It doesn't have that concentration and density as the former ones, but you have that really nice freshness and that elegance that just keeps going on the mid palate and into the finish, which is really interesting.
If you ask me, what happens the weather and the vintage 2023, 2022? I don't remember, because every year you have problem. It's more and more complicated. So every year it's complicated. So we have to adapt. I wanted to change the label, but I didn't want to change. The gate is open. Then you see the tree.
For me, the general style of Château Dalem is a wine where you have, because of the Merlot, there's a generosity of fruit with a fairly soft tannin and structure. It's a little bit like Saint-Émilion, but there's some vibrancy and there's some energy to the wines, and especially to the acidity, which tends to make them a little bit more playful than your average good level Saint-Émilion. So for me, Fronsac has something a little bit extra, and I know the wine growers in Fronsac are not too happy about it, and I fully understand why. But you generally pay about 20 to 30% less for the exact same quality you would easily find in Saint-Émilion. So this is really the place to look for the savage wine buyer to get some absolute steals.